Do you think being an engineer made you a better business person?
Point blank answer to that question is definitely yes. Who can actually speak what the machine really represents? There is no better person than an engineer.
You were essentially a CEO before you had the title.
Obviously, my dream was to become a CEO, and when it comes to CEO, the most important thing is accountability and ownership. That's all, nothing else.
How did Ola play their game? Like, why did they not survive? Was it because of the product or operations?
The startup's DNA is always hustle culture, Bharath.
Did you find that policymakers actually understood what you're trying to say, or was there a massive gap?
Yes, there was a gap.
With AI in place, the relevance of MBA still exists, do you think?
Should I pursue an MBA? Should I do an MBA? I'm just a BTech MTech. Will MBA really add value? If you are a BTech MTech slash you're a BTech MTech plus MBA or a BTech plus MBA, the chances of an MBA being picked up is higher.
AI cannot replace your job. AI will replace people who do not use AI.
One city of Hyderabad expand to 60 plus cities, and one charging station to expand to 250 plus charging stations. From few hundreds of units that we were dispensing per month to at this point of time we dispense close to 15,000 kilowatt.
More often than not, I face this problem of turning up to a charging center and they don't work.
Correct.
How do you, from Thunder Plus, see that this doesn't happen to a lot of people?
The government said you will have to install 150 charging stations in Hyderabad, and I have done it. Now, out of those 150 charging stations, how many run?
Do we go for EV adoption at all? Because these are not reliable. I need to be rest assured that like a fuel station, I will get my charge done.
Now, do we have HT lines abundantly done everywhere? Are they available until the last mile in the country? The answer is a big no.
But 1 ton of lithium mining will emit 15 tons of CO2.
Yeah.
Are we really solving India's renewable energy problem, or are we just shifting the pollution from tailpipes to power plants? Welcome, sir.
Hi, Bharath. Thank you so much for having me here.
So you started your career as a senior design engineer at TVS.
That's correct.
And then moved to Rexroth Bosch, where you not just designed components, but also looked at B2B sales. Then remarkably, you took the market share to 70%.
Yes.
So do you think being an engineer made you a better business person?
So the point blank answer to that question is definitely yes. I'll tell you the limitations of an engineer, right? Generally, when it comes to the engineers, most of them restrict themselves to their core areas. Whether it is mastering the softwares that they need to develop or the analytical tools that they need to develop. And very few actually want to mature into engineering managers, right? They really want to go deep, get into the research and develop deep roots and fundamentals in their core. But if at all there is anybody who can actually speak of the technology, who can actually speak what the machine really represents, there is no better person than an engineer. So what happened, while I was working with the TVS Motors as a senior design engineer, at every design stage we have reviews. The review team consists of your procurement, production, marketing and sales, PR and branding, and of course your R&D counterparts. Now these are generally the department heads where your designs go through the review. Everybody brings their perspective and asks questions. And during one of those reviews, the marketing head at that point of time, Mr. Govindi, okay, he said that this was the first time that I witnessed a design review which is more sales oriented, customer oriented, using the words and terminology which we can understand easily and which we are able to absorb and receive. That's when I understood that my calling is much beyond interacting with just the machines, the computers and the software. But I thought by God's grace, I was given the ability to communicate what I really build. And hence, I applied for this program with Bosch called Junior Managers Program. It is very similar to Tata Administrative Service, which is the replica of Indian Administrative Service in the Tata's group. Now, the Bosch policies are that generally a strong bachelor's, I would say, pedigree, be it from engineering, non-engineering, CA, whatever, finance, followed by a top-tier MBA overlap. So this is the kind of profile they generally look at. I was only a master's in technology. I was not an MBA still. But then, I think by God's grace, my application was selected and I was called for a day of evaluation, right? Where 35 similar youngsters like me across the country, people at the time working with Daimler Chrysler, people working with Volvo Eicher, right? People working with bigger brands along with TVS Motors, we all came. We were not given PPTs to present. We were given overhead projector and few sheets and sketch pens to draw and then express what our intents are. The group discussions were very different, right? And among those 35, I was the only non-MBA and I was the only junior manager who was selected in that particular round. So that gave me immense confidence that my calling is a bit beyond engineering. Then when I joined Bosch, from the very concept that a bachelor's and master's from IIT Madras, the leadership at Bosch initially put me into projects where they were finding it very difficult to solve from an engineering perspective. Then those engineering problems, I brought them to IIT Madras, discussed with professors, solved some of them. And I was given an opportunity to represent these projects with customers. And one such project I was handling at that point of time was electronic hitch control system, which is basically in agriculture and farming, you need to toil and till the ground so that the sand and then the mud is rightly mixed. Right. There is enough porosity for the moisture and sunlight to enter. And at the same time, there is a uniform mineral mix. Earlier, people used to do it manual. Then we started using animal power. And then we started using tractors. Now, even in the tractors, the understanding or the technology is that you have two physical levers with which you adjust the depth and the force. And those are not generally very ergonomically convenient. So this electronic hitch control system, which was in Germany for about 50 years, was tried to be implemented in India. And I was given the opportunity, unlike the regular sales team, to interact with companies like TAFE, CNH, Mahindra, etc. Because I was involved in the development of the project, my pitch was much more than sales pitch. Right. And any such kind of new technologies, generally the customer's team would be not just a procurement, it is procurement plus R&D plus production. Now imagine this, Bosch goes with this, a competitor of Bosch, say Siemens, also goes with similar kind of a thing. Right. But the person who represents Bosch was able to talk much beyond just sales and discounts and numbers, but talk about technology, production, uniformity, right? Localization, homogenization, etc. That really won the confidence. So if you were to ask me, did the engineering background help me to conquer 70% market share? The answer is absolutely yes.
Because 70% market share is quite high.
Yes.
Given you have such big market competitors, 70% is quite remarkable. And then after that, you went to Mahindra at CarWorks. You were essentially running everything. Yeah. You were looking after product, you were looking after sales, you were looking after operations, marketing. And I also read you were looking after app building and website and all of that.
That's correct.
You were essentially a CEO before you had the title. So, like looking back, do you feel this was the moment where you felt you could run the company?
See, one thing I always believed and behaved, I still remember when I moved from TVS Motor to Bosch. TVS Motor, I was a senior design engineer. When you generally start, you are very picky, choosy, and very fond of the designations, right? So Bosch, I joined as assistant manager. And about a year later, I was promoted to manager. But I thought I can be promoted much better. So I went to my leader and then I said, can there be something done in terms of this? He said one thing, while manager is just a designation given to you, Rajeev, I see you as the CEO of the company or the CEO of the project. In fact, I behave when it comes to me, while by designation only sales, I am the sales head. But when it comes to my role and responsibility, the buck starts from me and then the buck ends with me. Okay. I do not need another supervisor or anybody to monitor my work and then necessarily have to chase me to get things done. So that really gave me a kick. And second conversation was, while we were passing out of IIT Madras, my favorite professor was Professor David Koel Pillai, who was the founding director for IIT Hyderabad, right? Now he made, when I gave my slam book to him and then I asked him to make his comments, he said, Rajeev, you should always work such a way that you can replace your boss immediately.
Right.
So obviously my dream was to become a CEO. And when it comes to CEO, the most important thing is accountability and ownership. That's all, nothing else. Right. You need to own things up. You cannot continue to blame people for different things, though they may not be directly responsible under your purview, right? So with Bosch, I got probably the opportunity to interact and work at as operational thing. But then the beauty with Mahindra was, while Mahindra was a corporate entity, this CarWorks is a startup within Mahindra. Now, what happens with startups? Again, for viewers who are doing it, this is very, very helpful. People ask me, sir, how do I choose whether should I join startup or established MNC? Established MNC definitely brings you a lot of clarity, a lot of insights into processes. They teach you how systems can run independent of a person just by chair.
Right.
Whereas startups on the other way gives you an opportunity to be everywhere and start contributing. So at Mahindra & Mahindra CarWorks, initially I joined as a product manager. While product manager, carworks.com is an aggregator platform for car service and sales industry. At Bosch, I was a product manager for physical products, valves and technology. CarWorks, it was an app.
Essentially a platform.
It's a platform. So obviously, the terminologies such as wireframes, example, user flows,
Right.
user interface, then we talk about sprints, all of them were very alien to me. But that's when I enrolled myself for a program called Nano Product Management for e-commerce and platforms.
Right.
So that kind of helped me to fill the skills. So yes, the transition was completely different. I was able to identify the skill gap, but accordingly equip myself. But once I started doing it, since business development was always in my kitty, for CarWorks to succeed, the only success parameter is the number of OEMs that is there on the platform. Because CarWorks is basically that, like Zomato and Swiggy that you have,
Right.
anybody can find a car service station, book an appointment with them, and then the fulfillment of coming there, picking up the car happens. Now, that because of Mahindra, your competitors such as Marutis, Hyundais, Tatas, they are generally not hesitant in sharing their part numbers, in sharing their schedules, in sharing their costs, etc. But again, that gave me an opportunity where all the competitors of Mahindras were onboarded, right? So that way I was able to do the business development. Then what happened, since I did the business development there, when it comes to fulfillment, I was also held accountable by the OEMs. Right? So I had no option but to also oversee the operations than to leave it to somebody else so that the experience is better. So I'm very thankful to Mahindra & Mahindra, number one, for the opportunity. Number two, for the trust that they invested in me. And number three, for the freedom that they gave me to work across multiple. In fact, at one point of time, I was also handling the marketing campaigns at carworks.com.
All right. So was there a moment or was there a customer who was a tough nut to crack? Because like you rightly said, I was actually not prepared for this question, but then as a follow-up question, what I was thinking was, I was really thinking that there must be Maruti or any other company who would be really thinking that they could start something like this and have an aggregated platform or just have a platform of their parts.
Yes.
Why was it necessary for them to kind of onboard?
Very good question. See, Maruti definitely was a very, very tough nut. In fact, at that point of time, the service head of Maruti came out of Maruti and started a competitor company. Of course, he started much before us, called Carnation.
Okay.
Carnation exactly does the same.
Okay.
And on top of it, since he comes out of Maruti as an ecosystem, he came out as a service head. The scope and then the reach that he has across the ecosystem is really, really high.
Right.
So that was definitely a challenge for me. But when you always build the value proposition, so what we have done is, the difference between Carnation and us is, Carnation initially started building their own company-owned, company-operated workshops and then collaborate.
Okay.
That kind of limited their scale and speed. What we have done is, we have started to onboard independent garages.
Understood.
Right? Gave them a digital avatar. We built a CRM for them. We built their websites in our product. And we started driving customers to them, number one.
Okay.
Number two, we started picking up the original equipment suppliers such as Bosch, Mahle, Purolator, etc., where the engine oils, the gearbox oils, the gear, then the filters, the electronic items, we started getting them at a very, very discounted rate. And then we went to Maruti and said, your revenue comes generally from one particular source, that is, if only the customer comes to Maruti-owned service centers, that is when you make money.
Right.
But if your same car goes to some other garage, you will not make money. But if you were to make money where even in that garage, you want Maruti genuine parts to penetrate.
Right.
You want a pie of a business. Then these are the thousands of garages that I have on a platform.
Right.
What stops you from coming in? And that was a win.
More like India Mart for garages for people to enroll?
So it is basically a fulfillment center which takes care of product supplies to independent garages, because see, these independent garages, generally what they do, they go to grey market and pick things up.
Right.
Why do they do it? Two reasons. Number one, they are always of an opinion that the mainstream suppliers do not entertain them, right? They think that their genuine parts are restricted. Number two, they find it cheaper. But when you solve both of them, that is, you bring Carworks as a brand and tell them that, hey, you don't worry, I'm going to bring those, right, the oil and then the purolator and the filters for you. Number two, at least at almost the same price, if not at the game, probably 5 to 10% more. But then the confidence the independent garage owners can give to these customers that I am using the 100% genuine parts is something different, right? So what we were doing is more this kind of fulfillment. And when we were doing the fulfillment, the OEMs also recognized that we are actually killing the grey market, which is an enemy to the entire ecosystem.
Correct.
So that way, I think the partners also, it was easy for us. The way I would always suggest is, you can still make business with your competitor when you construct your value proposition rightly, when you are able to sensitize your competitor saying that this is the value this collaboration brings together,
Right.
and it is possible.
So you were achieving close to 100% month-on-month growth, which means doubling sales every month.
Yeah.
But Carworks eventually shut down. Is there a lesson to be learned?
Yeah.
And how is it building a startup inside a large organization?
See, the startup's DNA is always hustle culture, Bharath. When it comes to, when I made this statement called hustle, doesn't mean that everybody has to, I would say, rhythm their hands and legs all the way. No. My intention of hustle is everybody is responsible not just for their function, but at a general level, everybody is responsible for every other function, right? That means you are a specialist in your own thing, but you're also aware of what's happening, so that as a team, you stand very strong. So in Carv, and then there should always be this hunt and this, I would say, hustle for survival. If I do not make revenue this month, how would I pay salaries to the employee? Right? In a well corporate setup like Mahindra, what happened? Our salaries are taken care. We have very good perks, etc. So the team is well curated, but unfortunately, not everybody was demonstrating the hustle culture. Second thing, right?
So basically, I'm so sorry to interrupt. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that they're pretty laid back because everything is sorted.
Obviously, I mean, Anand Mahindra gives you money,
Right.
right? You go once in a month, you present, while you expect the numbers to grow, but even if there is certain delay, etc., it is still there because it is actually his, I would say, pet project, right? So that real need, for example, if you run a startup and you know that you do not have cash flows, right? You do not have enough runway in your bank accounts, you run pillar to post to meet some P or VC, ensure that you get at least the term sheets.
Right.
That urgency is not required. Why? Because you are already part of a well-funded group.
You have deep pockets.
Deep pockets. Second thing, what we realized at that point of time, where we should have been more prepared, I would say, is if you are just building an aggregator business in the initial stages, you generally do not appeal to stakeholders. People expect that along with building an aggregator business, you should also build a fulfillment business. That means not only that you bring supply and demand together, you are expected to play a role in fulfilling that supply, demand, and then the operations. What we have noticed is, while we built the aggregator platform and we tried to build the operations, we did not scale the operations to the tune of the scale of aggregator, because aggregator, the scaling is easy.
Right.
But operations, the scaling is...
Yes, because I think we're talking about on-ground operations. Yeah.
For example, another example I'll tell you. The time Ola launched a product called Ola Play.
Okay.
Right? Ola Play case study is also beautiful. It basically has tabs for its customers, and the customers can subscribe to it, and then they can watch movies, they can watch YouTube, everything in the internet within the cars. Now, on the other hand, what Ola Play would do is, Ola Play would onboard the hotels, restaurants, shopping malls nearby. As per the coordinates of the car, the basis on the geofencing, if suppose I move from here to Jubilee Hills and let us say there is an Hotel X and my car has got an Ola Play, I get the ad of Hotel X while I watch the video.
Okay.
A brilliant case study, right? Now, car works, we have 3,000 plus garages enrolled within Mumbai. We can do everything. We pitched to Ola. They were installing this Ola Play in the basements of one of the hospitals in Mumbai.
Okay.
Right? Very, very unhygienic, not so great environment, etc. And we said, we are going to solve this problem. We will maintain the... Yeah, you want to ask something?
Yeah, for the audience, I think Ola Play is more like an infotainment system.
Absolutely. Ola Play is basically a tab and an infotainment system which was started in 2016-17. Of course, that was not a great hit. So what we started doing is we started maintaining the stock of them at different independent garages. So as soon as the driver walks, he gets a notification, that fulfillment, etc. happens. So Mumbai, we were able to do. Ola is happy, we are happy.
Okay.
Now Ola wanted to roll this out in Bangalore, Pune, Chennai, Hyderabad, Delhi.
Okay.
Was Carworks prepared for it? No.
Right.
So this is exactly what I mean. When you build an aggregator business, when you build a model, it is easy for you to scale. But if you do not have your operations rightly tuned and primed for it, you will fail. I think in Carworks also, if at all there is something that we were to learn, we should have been more careful in terms of our hunger,
Okay.
right? More hustle. Second thing is we should have focused equally on the operations as much as we have focused on building the product. Probably after a certain time, you can offload these operations to some other company and you can be.
Right.
But initially to gain the traction and build that trust in the ecosystem, you'll have to do both.
So, but how did Ola play their game? Like, why did they not survive? Was it because of the product or operations? Or where was Carworks a reason?
No, of course, Carworks is never a reason. So, Ola Play as a business model, they tried really well. Uber also mimicked it, and Uber also tried to bring Uber Entertainment or something like that. But I think while they installed the equipment, while they built the infotainment, etc., I think they failed in monetization of this. For example, as a case study, as I told you, you onboard these guys, you give them the marketplace, right, for advertisement, etc. I think that they were not able to do really, really well. They should have played it that this is more like a BTL activity.
Mm-hmm.
You have a captive customer for 20 minutes to 30 minutes, bombard them with your ads, etc. Probably they should have positioned it rightly. And digital marketing and Facebook campaigns, Instagram campaigns in 2016-17 were not so great, right?
They were rudimentary.
They were very elementary. You're absolutely correct.
Right.
Most of them are at ATL or the BTL levels.
Right.
So this actually Ola Play has got a great opportunity to fill that gap because it is both a BTL and a digital together. But I think somehow they were not able to take that very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the leadership also thought at one point of time, because after I came out of Carworks, I was still in touch with them. They thought at one point of time that this Ola Play is demanding more resources and bandwidth as much as the regular operations. So that's where they had to choose whether to put it on hold or continue. And they have decided to put this on hold because their core operations are being impacted.
After this stint at Carworks, you moved to Gati.
Yes.
You were responsible for electrification of your delivery fleet.
Yes.
And was there a moment or a delivery point or an observation where you felt this is the future?
Yes.
And you need to be at the center of it?
So, when I received call from Gati Logistics, and then the HR head said that we are building EV operations, the first reaction of mine was confused. Gati, a logistics mammoth, what kind of EV operations would they bring? So my conversation and interaction with Gati lasted for about 3 months before I took up that role. So when I started to interact with them, that was when I realized that it was not an inherent desire of Gati. At that point of time, IKEA was into India, and they chose Hyderabad to be their first base. IKEA started its operations in 2017, and by 2018 August, they were to roll out their operations. And then their operations include, number one, in-store experience, and at the same time, to ensure that from Hyderabad to rest of the South India things go, they also have within city and intercity transportation facilities. And obviously, Gati being a homegrown Hyderabad company, there is no bigger player at that point of time. while delivery etc. existed, they were just taking steps, and then the other bigger players are basically the DHL etc. Right. So Gati won the contract. IKEA was part of EV100 campaign. EV100 campaign where they publicly proclaimed that by 2030, all their mobility services, be it the employee transportation or be it the goods transportation, by 2030, all of them gets into EVs. No, I mean, they move away from a non-renewable to renewable kind of a source, green. Now, when Gati signed the contract, they signed the contract because Indian companies sign contract with any other companies. And by 2018, when they were about to launch these operations, the IKEA leadership comes to Gati and then says, where are the electric vehicles?
Okay.
And Gati leadership then realized, yes, this was a point in the contract, but we conveniently ignored. So that was when they were trying to understand who can build these operations. And fortunately, we were able to come together. And then when I went, it was at that point of time I realized there existed no electric vehicle for cargo segment then.
Okay.
We spoke to Mahindras, we spoke to Tatas. Mahindra had a product called eSupro, right? But that is again a passenger vehicle. We got few orders customized to cargo, but then the length and the things do not match. We went to Tatas. Tatas have beautiful Tata Ace, but only in the presentation. They don't have the ready-made product. You won't believe. We started with probably around 20 three-wheelers, right? Electric three-wheelers. We brought them. We branded it all Gati. We presented it to IKEA. Okay. IKEA was like, we were supposed to deliver these through 1-tonner, 2-tonner trucks. And that was when we had to tell them that those kind of things do not exist. So from my personal perspective, when I noticed that a big company called IKEA is driving it, and IKEA was very serious in electrification of their mobility, then the counterpart of Gati, the founder himself is Mr. Mahendra Agarwal. He was also taking this seriously. That's why a senior resource like me was hired. And then when I started looking at the ecosystem, Amazon's, Big Basket, Flipkart's, Grofers, you name all of them, they were already midst of their plans to move their last mile mobility to EVs. Okay. So that was when I realized that e-commerce was growing at a CAGR of 32% at that point of time. Electric vehicles are just budding up, only startups existed. If only we were able to make a space for ourselves at that point of time, that's a right investment to be a very sought after individual or a professional or a product in the future. So that was where I was able to see that there is a great future, and hence I started investing myself into it.
You were advising on EV policy at the state level. While having spent years executing EV operations on the ground. Did you find that policymakers actually understood what you're trying to say, or was there a massive gap?
So the answer to the question, does a gap exist among the policy-making community or among the policy-making roundtables? The answer is yes. For example, when we started operations for IKEA with Gati, as soon as we launched it, Amazon's, Big Basket, Flipkart's, Grofers, they all approached us for us to build similar solutions for them. Since Gati is already a service provider for them, we were able to serve the EV operations also. Then we were approached by Department of Heavy Industries. We were approached by a group called Rocky Mountain Institute. We were approached by a think tank called Niti Aayog. Why? Because no major logistics player at that point of time except Gati was taking EV seriously. Okay. And they really wanted to understand what support a player like Gati needs to ensure that the adoption of EVs is smoother and it is scalable. So thank God, I had an opportunity to be on the drafting committee of many EV policies, Telangana EV policies, Delhi Dialogue and Action Committee in Delhi, working very closely with Department of Heavy Industries and Niti Aayog on the FAME 2.0. FAME 1.0 was always there. Right. FAME 2.0 was not there. So that gave me an opportunity to actually bring practical insights to them. And then, was there a gap? Yes, there was a gap. And what was I able to do? Not only that I went in, I pulled the other counterparts of Amazon's, Big Basket, Flipkart's, those leaders also to bring in there. So that fulfilled the entire knowledge that is required. This is from a state and national level perspective. And after that, I moved on to the government of Andhra Pradesh, which probably going forward, I will answer there, the experience there.
So then all of a sudden you went off to Sloan School. I want to know how your experience there was.
Yeah. So after my stint with Gati Logistics, I was at that point of time a service provider. I really wanted to get back into OEM. I basically come from Tata Motors, TVS Motors, Mahindra, Bosch, into OEM and OES, right? And hence I joined the leadership of a company called Ito Motors, okay, where Ito Motors was manufacturing electric three-wheelers and running them as last mile mobility services with mobility as a service. When I joined Ito Motors, obviously my depth and my exposure at a component level, assembly level, system level, battery management systems, battery cells, right? And then the vendors, and then the hiccups, and then the difficulties in the supply chain of the entire ecosystem really blew my mind up. While I was building the operations for Ito Motors, one evening I received a call from the government of Andhra Pradesh, asking me if I can consider a role at their industry body called Andhra Pradesh Economic Development Board, APEDB, that's what they call. It is an independent board, works very close. The chair of this particular board is the Honorable Chief Minister. The deputy chair is the Honorable Minister of Finance and Revenue, and it is headed by the Honorable Minister of Industries. So that's the kind of committee that sits and works very closely with the Commissioner Industries, and EDB itself has got an IAS officer who is the CEO, right? So when this opportunity came, I was very, I would say, excited, because until then I was part of corporate and I was giving my inputs to the government. But this is one such opportunity where I sit as part of the government and have an opportunity to drive policies which actually create real impact. So I went there, spent about 2 years with them, did multiple road shows on the government of Andhra Pradesh on why the state of Andhra Pradesh is the right place for people to come and invest. We brought companies such as Causes E-Mobility, which is basically an electric bus manufacturing company. That time we were very, Causes E-Mobility is one. We brought Ashok Leyland, right? And then we were the first government to induct more than 300 electric cars into the government operations, right? And we also drafted policies that incentivizes setting up of mega EV charging hubs, etc. So that kind of gave a lot of opportunity for me to do all of this. And 1.5 to 2 years with them, I noticed that after the Global Investor Summit that happened in Visakhapatnam under the leadership of then CM Sri Jagannath Reddy Garu, the government and then the entire mechanism was slowly prepping itself for the upcoming elections, probably another 10 months from there. So that's where I realized that it's the right time for me to pivot and then do something with my career. And entrepreneurship has always been on the cards. And even while I was working, I was running a company called EV Masterclass. Why?
Looking at, looking at all of the things that you were doing, working with the government as an advisory and all of that, you were at the helm of events. And at that point, you decided to just leave all of it and go to...
Correct. So after this government stint, I had few options, Bharath. One is starting up my own firm. Second thing is going back to the corporate world. And third thing is, which was never in the context, basically pursuing an MBA. See, again, this is again a question generally most audience ask. Should I pursue an MBA? Should I do an MBA? I'm just a BTech, MTech. Will MBA really add value? From the perspective of whether MBA adding value or not, definitely it adds value. From the perspective of your employer, if you are a BTech, MTech / you are a BTech, MTech plus MBA or a BTech plus MBA, the chances of an MBA being picked up is higher. Why? That gives them a comfort that, okay, he understands the nuances of finances, marketing, people management, operations, business, which otherwise as a BTech or a graduate has to prove in through their efforts that they are able to, right? And hence, even for me, I realized that as I move up in the corporate ladder, one thing that was missing is MBA as a tagline. Right. So there are options. One is pursuing MBA within the country, ISBs, etc. But at the time, I was already teaching to the students of ISB Hyderabad two multiple programs. So that's when I realized that if I was able to graduate from IIT Madras BTech MTech, and there is a degree that has to complement this, it should be either an MIT or a Harvard or a Stanford. I applied for all three of them, got calls from all of them. And when I was discussing with my professors, all of them said that MIT complements the skill sets and then the entrepreneurial, I would say, ambitions much better than the other things. And that was when, in fact, it was very expensive, Bharath. I either had to buy a house or go for an MBA, right? It's upwards of crore. Second thing, you stop earning for about a year. So one thing is you invest yourself into education. Second thing, your regular income stops. Third thing, you have a family in Hyderabad and then you will have to live yourself in Boston for about a year. So it was a tough call, but I thought that that value addition whichever path I take, whether an entrepreneurial role or a corporate role, will add value. So I took loan, education loan again at that point of time, because obviously I cannot afford to bring. And no regrets. I went to the campus, spent beautiful 1 year in Boston at MIT Sloan, and amazing experience it has been.
Sir, I think this is a bit of a controversial question. With AI in place, the relevance of MBA still exists, do you think?
See, again, people talk about multiple things, right? AI will replace, AI will... See, let us look at this. When you have a stenographer, a typewriter, right? Then there was something called short write, where you get to take notes very, very faster, right? They become obsolete, stenographers came into picture. And from stenography, we brought the computers. And from computers, we got lot many technologies. Now, understand this very clearly. The technologies became obsolete, but not the people who are working on it. For example, if the same shorthand guy would have really equipped himself into stenography, his job is nowhere at risk. Similarly, when the world is moving from stenography to computers and rest of, and if somebody rightly equips themselves and keeps them updated, he is not at risk. The reason why I make this statement is, every technology at this point of time has got a very short shelf life. So the technology becomes obsolete. If you are attached yourself with technology and then say that I am not learning anything more, this is it, then of course you become obsolete. But you continue to learn and unlearn, and you continue to master. For example, while AI is there, somebody needs to work on... See, there are certain jobs which can be easily replaced. Analysts as a job, say for example, designers as a job, right? These are no-brainers. But at a leadership level, at a mid-management level, if you have the ability to exactly leverage that AI and bring efficiencies into the team and understand, you progress along with the technology, you really don't have to worry. But if you ignore the transitions into AI, for example, people were only using ChatGPT more as a email copy enhancer, right? But now with cloud and then the cloud computer that has come in, man, you can just automate your work.
Right, yeah.
In fact, right now I'm working on a project. I'll talk about the tools. I work with a tool called Apollo.io. Then there is another thing called Losha. Then you have this Anthropic. With all of these three put together, I can create a profile of a customer that I wanted to catch up. From these tools, I get their LinkedIn ID, I get their email ID as well as mobile number. I can automate the cloud AI that keep looking for the news. If any news of this particular kind of profiles go, contextualize your LinkedIn invitation with that particular news, send them emailers asking for a coffee or a business meet, etc. All of this can be automated, which otherwise I will have to go check in LinkedIn, send connect requests, etc. can be done. Right? The reason I'm saying is, if somebody understands how to use these AI tools, you are the best. But if you distance yourself, if you shy away, if you are into a fixed mindset that this is what I learn, I cannot, then you're gone.
I think this is what everybody says. Every person who's actually practicing AI says that AI cannot replace your job. AI will replace people who do not use AI.
Who do not adopt to the AI. You are right, correct.
So I think that is where, when I have been using AI, and the advancements in AI have been incremental, I think, in the beginning, but today they are just leapfrogging. Last year they were very rudimentary, and today what Claude can do is, I think, phenomenal. It can automate everything. I think all it requires is like a bunch of hands and legs. I think it can do a lot more.
See, I'll tell you another practical example how I use Claude. So I gave my car for servicing, all right? And then the service estimate they gave me was for about 6 lakh rupees. 6 lakh rupees. Definitely I was initially, I would say, frustrated. And I called them and I said, what is this? How can you do this? And then they had their own share of explanations of why X, Y, Z. I uploaded all these estimates to Cloud, gave a clear context of what my car is, what exactly are the problems, asked that Cloud to differentiate between highly essential service that needs to be done, which are upsells that are done by the dealership service, are there any duplication of the bill, what is the rate of the parts compared to the actual market, the number of labor hours that they have demonstrated, right, mentioned in the... So when I gave them clear prompts, from 6 lakh rupees, I was able to negotiate and get that done at 2.5 lakh rupees. And all, again, I don't have to prove to them that I know, right?
Right.
I run this, so there are cases where, for example, the engine needs to be dismounted.
Okay.
When you dismount the engine, there are 3-4 jobs that are to be done. So the service estimate was 3-4 jobs. So 3-4 times engine dismounted and then this being done. Then then the cloud told me that this is a repeated. When you dismount, you can actually do all the 4. Then when I brought that point to them, they were like, sir, this is a mistake. So there are, and then they try to upsell car spa, AC spa, that which I do not need at this point of time. The suspension, they said those links are gone, but which I do not need. So when I negotiated, when I brought all of this into the right, and then I also asked cloud, draft a response on my behalf to the dealer, highlighting all of these things. And when I sent it to him, he was blown away. He understood that he cannot.
He was caught off guard.
And then 6 lakhs to 2.5 lakhs.
Yeah.
With my 2,500 rupees subscription for AI tool.
I think you may not even need it, the subscription.
Yeah, yes, without a subscription, right? So, like you rightly said, the AI tools can do much beyond and much better than what we can actually perceive and conceive. And it all depends on our abilities to push the limits and equip ourselves and use it to leverage.
So coming to your company, Thunder Plus,
Yeah.
you have hit $1.5 million in revenue in the first year with a 15% EBITDA.
Yeah.
You were profitable off the start.
Yeah.
Well, most companies fail to do so. They burn cash.
Yeah.
So you think your experience at Sloan School, your experience with operations in all of these companies helped you to run this company in a different way?
Absolutely. I'll tell you, Bharath, this is very important. There is a lot of unwanted glamorization around fundraise. There is a lot of unwarranted celebration of cash burn, which our company burns the highest number of cash are glorified, which are actually absurd, right? What is the king in business is your free positive cash flows. I pump in 100 rupees into my business. Is this 100 rupees going to earn at least 120 rupees as a positive cash outflow? So the proof of any business, whether it in terms of its business metrics, operational efficiencies, leadership capabilities, or the leanness of the team, or whatever, the proof of any business is positive cash flows, number 1. Now, how do you build positive cash flows? You build positive cash flows when you identify the customer rightly, you anchor that customer before you even invest. Let me now overlap this with what we have done at Thunder Plus. Thunder Plus, or for that matter, any EV charging company, is an infrastructure heavy company. That means you spend, to set up a charging station, you spend at least 1 crore rupees. And then you take that at a finance cost anywhere between, at this point, around 12 to 15%. That means from the day 1, the month 1, you have a finance EMI to be paid. And then if you build a charging station and wait for your customers to come and then charge at the charging station, you will never be able to make the money. So what we have done is, we have deployed a concept called anchor customer. That is, before I set up a charging station, or in a way it is like this, before I even lay the foundation for a real estate, there is this pre-launch offers, etc., which these guys try to do, where they try to generate certain capital. What I did is, I started going to the fleet aggregators, passenger, cargo. I started going to the OEMs, engage deals with them that this is where I'm setting up a charging station. I'm going to give all your customers a discounted rate. Give me a minimum business guarantee, etc. So that way, at least 60 to 70% of my station's occupation I have ensured even before spending a single penny on it. So what happens? My revenues of 60 to 70% are up and running from the day 1 that I started the charging stations. Now, this charging stations business is very much similar to a mall, a coffee shop, a restaurant, or a kirana store. When you see more people go into a particular place, there is curiosity among others. There is unsaid trusted credibility you already build among the customers. So when you see so many number of cars, etc. coming into this, your B2C customers also get excited. And B2C customers is where I get my maximum margin. That way, we were able to start from one single state of Telangana, expand to 16 states, one city of Hyderabad, expand to 60 plus cities, and one charging station to expand to 250 plus charging stations. From few hundreds of units that we were dispensing per month to, at this point of time, we dispense close to 15,000 kilowatt. That is roughly 15 megawatt hour of energy every month. And so this was all possible because, number 1, positive cash flows was always our aim. and whatsoever is required, such as anchor customers, we were able to put that particular thing in place. And every penny that you spend, you question how that penny is going to return your money. Now, the proof of pudding for this, Bharath, is among all the charging companies, whether it is Charge Zone, my biggest competitor, or Static, the second one, or Kazam, or Bolt, you name any of them, none of them were able to raise funds from public sector banks. Why? Because your scheduled banks always look at your PNLs, always look at your GST filings, and then check whether your audited financials have got something called PAT or a PBT. None of them has got PAT or a PBT. They, for example, if you look at the numbers from MCA, these are anyway declared in the corporate affairs, right? One of our competitors, they earned 42 crores, but then they burnt 82 crores. Another competitor earned 42 crores, they burned 57 crores. Another competitor earned 9 crores, they burned 37 crores, right? Thunderplus earned meager 15 crores, 12 crores last year, and this year we will be doing around 16 crores. But we were profitable at least by 10 to 15%. Now, this numbers is what gave the confidence. And then very recently, we raised 3 crores of debt fund from State Bank of India at an interest rate in single digits, without any collaterals, right? Nothing. It was all a fund raised based on the merit of the business.
Because of your PAT.
Because of the PAT, that's it. Yeah. And of course, the projections that you have for the future, the roadmap that you have for the future, the kind of contracts you have already established, etc. All of this. But then the prime most thing is positive outflow of cash. Any founder, any entrepreneur, except somebody who is building a complete technology business, but anybody who is into business ops and operations and you know what needs to be done, you cannot ignore the fact that your business has to bring positive cash flows, and you cannot sustain on cash burn very long.
So you essentially began with B2B sales.
Yes.
I feel they're really difficult to crack. How was your experience breaking them down?
Again, Bharath, you won't believe, I also do business with my competitors, right? I'm going to explain, as I told you in the beginning, right? As long as you build the strong value proposition. Another classic example, Tata Motors, the largest OEM in the country. Tata Power, one of the first early entrants of a charge point operator in the country. Obviously, what does anybody expect? That every business of Tata Motors goes to Tata Power.
Correct.
That was what I was also told. The other directors and leadership said it is futile to pursue Tata Motors because Thunderplus is nobody. We are very small. Whereas on the other hand, you have Tata Power, and they are part of a single conglomerate and single group. Why would they give you business? I heard them, but I refused to believe. I went, I pitched my proposal to Tata Motors. I started with one single project. That project was, I was setting up 15 kilowatt GBT chargers for Tata Motors across their dealers. That was my beginning. Okay. When I showed them my speed, agility, commitment, and quickness to response to Tatas, they said, we do not want to work with anybody except for Thunderplus. From there on, now, any Tata Motors commercial vehicle is sold, Tata Ace or variants of Tata Ace, every customer gets a Thunderplus charger as a welcome kit. And as soon as they get, both our CRMs are integrated. And our AI system makes a call to them in the vernacular language. Okay. Fixes an appointment with them, congratulates that particular customer, fixes an appointment, and that is stored in my CRM, which is already taken by the operator, and the operator living close by will go install the charger, train him and come, and all this happens in less than 48 to 72 hours.
Oh, that's impressive.
Now this solution gave business with Ashok Leyland, with Mahindras, with Marutis, right? So what I'm trying to say is, when you build your value proposition very strong, when you bring a lot of innovation and technology into play, and when you put customer satisfaction at the core of it, there is no business or there is no house that you cannot crack.
Sir, I myself own a EV vehicle. I have a Tata Tigor. More often than not, I face this problem of turning up to a charging center and they don't work.
Correct.
How do you, from Thunderplus, see that this doesn't happen to a lot of people?
Brilliant, brilliant. See, charger reliability is one of the biggest concerns in the EV ecosystem. I'll tell you why. See, EV charging ecosystem initially was not taken up by the EV charging companies. It was actually the government that took up the company. For example, whether it is Anert in Kerala, whether it is TS Redco in Telangana, whether it is Netcap in AP. These were the nodal agencies who were given the responsibility to develop charging infra, right? So whenever a government functions, it is always a tick mark. Have you called for the tenders? Yes. Have you got L1, L2, L3? Yes. Have you distributed your demand among L1, L2, L3? Yes. Have they installed the chargers? Yes. But what about operations and maintenance? I don't know. That's never my scope, because the government said you will have to install 150 charging stations in Hyderabad, and I have done it. Now, out of those 150 charging stations, how many run? In fact, if you go around in Hyderabad and see, there are many charging stations where the guns are severed, they were chopped off, they were taken off, right? And there are bushes and thistles around this. Exactly. There are cows and other goats urinating around that place. Why? Because their scope ends with that. But for Thunder Place, that's my bread and butter. So how we handle this is, we have a knock center which monitors these chargers' health every second. We get something called the heartbeat of the chargers. That means they communicate to our CRM saying that I'm alive, and alive. And at any point of time, a communication stops, right? Because these are all internet connected. Then obviously there is an alarm or there is a notification to my, and then all my charging stations are manned. That means you have a technician always. So a call goes from the knock center, asks him to check. Most of the times it happens because of a physical switch being shut down, etc., or the fuse turned off because there was high voltage, etc., which will be fixed immediately. So I have this live monitoring, right? That is number one. Number two, uptime of the chargers, I commit to my customers at around 95%. And number three, you need to be responsible for operations and maintenance, and your turnaround times cannot be in days, but they must be in hours, right? So when you bring all of these things together, in fact, we are now implementing AI cameras. What these AI cameras do is, these AI cameras have a technology called automatic number plate recognition. It is called ANPR.
Okay.
So say suppose your Tigor with your K registered car comes, and then I understand how many times you have come automatically. Then my team reaches out to you and then says, sir, are you okay with a cardless, cashless kind of a transaction? That means as soon as your vehicle comes, my charger recognizes that this is so and so. You dispense it, you give me a pre-approval on your credit card. Whatsoever energy that I dispense, I will bill and charge. Now imagine as a EV owner, what kind of a comfort you gain from this?
Because I live in lurking fear if I have to make a trip.
Correct.
So I was traveling, from my personal experience, I was traveling off Tumkur and I was coming back to Bangalore. Somewhere in between, I saw there's a charging center in Bescom, which was government run in Bescom. I go there, there were bushes and there were these charging centers. The assets are there, physical assets by Delta are there, and the tags are not cut from that. Nothing is on. I go there and it was a heartbreak for me because I don't know how do I take my vehicle from there. I arrived at that place with 10% charge and I had to tow my vehicle for 60 kilometers. And I think that begs this question of EV adoption. Like, do we go for EV adoption at all? Because these are not reliable. So how does Thunder Plus or any other company, not just Thunder Plus, because I feel our country should have so many markets and all of them should follow a certain principle. And wherever I go with my EV, I need to be rest assured that like a fuel station, I will get my charge done.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. As I told you, this is actually a problem statement, and that is exactly one of the mission statements that we intend to solve: reliability as well as the scalability and abundant availability of chargers. So that's a problem that exists. We cannot deny it. And are we there? No. Everybody is solving it, and we have taken an approach that we will not spread too thin across the country. We will start taking hub and spoke model. For example, Hyderabad to Vijayawada we have done. We'll ensure that Hyderabad to Vijayawada is completely, amply, electrified with chargers. Then from Vijayawada to Visakhapatnam, Vijayawada to Chennai. So that's the, approach Thunder Plus has taken. People might take different kinds of approaches, but yes, abundant availability of EV chargers. At the same time, the reliability and the operational maintenance of those chargers are as equally as important as they are abundantly available.
So you're now the national spokesperson of CPOSI, the voice of all the charge point operators of the country. You've been at both the sides. You were with the government and you were an entrepreneur. So what is the single biggest change that would 10x EV adoption in our country?
See, EV adoption happens when two things work together. One, the variety of the vehicles and then the affordability of those vehicles compared to ICE. I think from an OEM perspective, we are already there. Right. You look at Hyundai, there are many models. You look at Tatas, you look at Mahindras, especially with Born Electric series, you have good models. Then you have BYD, which is a pure EV player coming in. So there is no dearth of models and choice. And then are they compatible and comparable with respect to the price point? I think we are almost there. While the total cost of ownership EVs are anyway cheaper, but even the upfront cost also now they're comparable. Now the second and most important thing for people to gain confidence, for example, you said you are driving Tumkur to Bangalore and then the Bescom you went there and it was not there. So what's next, right? So the second is not the range anxiety, but charger anxiety.
Correct.
That means everywhere and anywhere I see, I should be able to find a charger. Now, the setting up of a charging station involves three major things. People are not generally aware of this. They think, why don't you just bring a charger and then install? It doesn't work that way. The first one is your power infra. Because these are high power, high voltage, high current modules, not every LT line works. You will definitely need a HT line, right? Now, do we have HT lines abundantly done everywhere? Are they available until the last mile in the country? The answer is a big no.
Okay.
Right? So the first bottleneck is power infrastructure. Now, for a charge point operator, what's happening is, in a charging system, close to 33% of the cost is taken by power infra. Roughly around 30 to 40% cost is eaten by the chargers, and another 30% by the real estate, basically to develop, etc. Now, real estate in India has been very expensive. Now, as a charge point operator, I do not mind investing my money in setting up a charger, because at any point of time I want to move away, I can always take my charger and go. But why should I be investing in a transformer? Why should I be investing in a KV line? Why should I be investing in a pole? Isn't it the responsibility of the government to give me the power until the last line? But unfortunately, that's not happening, right? So while the variety of models from an OEM perspective is a problem that is solved, I think the government needs to do much more than what it is doing, especially from a DISCOM's perspective. They need to ensure that for any EV charging company, they need to ensure that, okay, until this point, the last mile electricity connection, whether it is HT or LT, whatever you need is done. You don't have to invest in the infrastructure, which actually is the responsibility of the government. Take that as your last mile, draw your power there and develop your charging station. That way, my chargers could be profitable, my speed of adoption of chargers increases, and once you have abundant availability of charging stations that way, customers like you gain that confidence, and thus that accelerates the adoption of EVs.
Like you rightly said, it's never been for me, at least, because I drive my Tigor and it only comes with 220 kilometers range on road. It has always been the charger anxiety, availability of charger. Let's say the charger is there, but more often than not, they don't work. I think I was actually not aware of this fact that it is the government's perspective that they're not giving, it's the government's lookout that they're not giving your last mile power supply. More often than not, I thought, okay, the charge point itself was the problem. The chargers were not functioning and they were not actually maintained well. And thanks for answering this question. I think I have my answer now. Sir, we call EVs green, but 1 ton of lithium mining will emit 15 tons of CO2.
Yeah.
And India's power grid is 60% coal.
Yeah.
Are we really solving India's renewable energy problem, or are we just shifting the pollution from tailpipes to power plants?
Good question, Bharath. See, if you look at the carbon footprint emissions, right, and if you look at the value chain, it starts from the, for a regular car, it starts from the oil rig, and from there, the oil has to come to the fuel tank of the vehicle and go. Now, for an EV, it starts from a power source, and from there it comes to your last socket and gets into the vehicle. Now, let us look at this, the power source to socket. At this point of time, the sources of power that we have is definitely thermal, that is basically the coal, followed by some of hydra and a little bit of solar and wind, etc. Right? At this point of time, as an entire ecosystem, do we have enough infrastructure where we can switch the source of energy directly from coal to others? The answer is no. Right? We do not have that. Right? So, in such a context, when the source itself doesn't have an alternative, the applications, whether it is EV, non-EV, or whether it is the theaters, infrastructure, etc., they will continue to depend upon it, right? But are they making an impact? Yes, because the tailpipe emissions are still zero there, right? That is number one. Number two, very recently, the government started to push a program called PM Kusum, if you are aware. Now, what does this PM Kusum as a policy says is, farmers who have their lands farmers in certain areas where they have very dry lands. Some of those may not be rightly equipped to do agriculture or maybe agriculture, etc. They are given loans to set up solar farms, number one. Government entered an MOU with them that they are going to purchase this power from them at around 4 rupees.
Fixed rate contract.
Right. Yeah. Now, the government is consolidating all this power. And Thunderplus, very recently, we were also in the news. Thunderplus is the first CPO to sign up with this Ministry of Power at the center, where we said we are going to shift our consumption of power from a coal-based to this PM Kusum.
Okay.
So that way, instead of me not necessarily setting up a solar plant, instead of me not necessarily tapping into something else, there is always an aggregator at a government level who is combining all of these things, and I'm tapping into it. Now, this only grows bigger and better going forward. Thus, your question that the source, is there an alternate that is being created? It is being created, number one. Number two, now you asked another question, that mining of lithium itself. So that's unfortunately is something that we have to live with right now. There are a lot of technologies that are going more from a solid state battery perspective. There are sodium ion batteries, right. There are zinc air batteries, right? And now BYD comes with blade batteries, which are better efficient, right? So I think the technology is still evolving. Why people adopted lithium is because when it is NMC batteries, that is nickel, magnesium, cobalt, or whether it is titanium oxide batteries, lithium-ion batteries, lithium ferrous phosphate batteries actually strike the balance between safety and energy density. NMC, energy density is high, safety is poor. Titanium oxide, energy density is low, but safety is high, but energy density is low. So from all practical perspective, LFP fits the bill. Right. Does it mean it is the best? The answer is no. So I think as the technology grows, those problems also will be solved. Now again, for the technology to grow also, we need to understand people who would have invested so much into this and haven't yet recovered, they will also wait for that latent period so that their investments are recovered. So it is not necessarily a pure technology or a progression game. It is a game of economics. It is a game of politics. It is a game of much more than what we ideally see.
But only 5% of global batteries that are used in the EVs are recycled. Don't you think in due course of time, 10 years or 15 years, same goes with even solar chips. Since we do not have proper recycling infrastructure, they'll just end up in the landfills. So is Thunderplus looking in that direction of recycling, upcycling?
So is Thunderplus considering that as a business model at this point of time? The answer is no. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
See, there is something called circular economy. So while recycling, repurpose are two words, circular economy is when you have a complete product, you dismantle or you break down the product such a way that some of those components can actually, with a little bit of retreatment, can enter back into the original life cycle. That's called circular economy, right? Generally, it happens for car metals, it happens for car seats, etc., plastics, etc. Now, even in a EV battery perspective, there are two things that are happening right now. One is repurposing. What does it mean by repurposing? A battery is a combination of multiple cells. And when a battery is down, doesn't mean all the cells are down. There are certain cells which have got good health. So what happens is people take these, they dismantle, people take those good cells, they repurpose them, bring them back into the charging ecosystem. And those battery cells whose state of health, that's what you call SOC, right, is much lower than it can be revived, they generally get into static applications. What do you mean by static applications? Inverters, okay, right? You want to have battery as an energy storage service, etc. Now, this is what I'm talking about the future. Do they exist right now? I don't think so. Why? Because the volumes of batteries, there is not even a 7-8 year or 10 years period that we have crossed already, right, from an EV. So every battery component, every battery warranty goes for about 8 years, right? So the new business model of recycling, repurposing and bringing them back into circular economy and identifying a secondary life cycle for these batteries, there are only few companies playing, but again, this is a heavy investment and infrastructure game. At this point of time, we are not very keenly looking at this. We are aware that so and so market would develop. Will we enter in the future? Maybe, but at this point of time, the answer is no. We are focused on building the EV charging infra for the country, and we will continue to do that.
Right. So you have seen Indian logistic giants, auto majors, and the government up close. Which one of these is the biggest hurdle for EV adoption in our country?
So let me talk about certain behind the screen industry politics.
Right. Because you are with the government up close, I want to know what government really thinks in this place.
See, if you look at FAME 1.0 and if you look at the initial draft of FAME 2.0 and then the final FAME 2.0, let me talk what's happening. FAME 1.0 allocated 1,000 crores for EV. And in the 1,000 crores, there are two kinds of EVs that have been focused. One is pure electric EV, which is called battery electric vehicles. Second one is called plug-in hybrid, which means it's more like a hybrid. Now, when FAME 2.0 as a first draft has come in, the plug-in hybrid electric vehicles discount has been or incentive has been removed, and then the entire focus was all on pure electric vehicles. But at that point of time, there is one big OEM giant which has already invested heavily into hybrid vehicle technology. Okay. Now, that particular brand commands more than 50% of market share in the country.
Okay.
And then the chairman of that particular brand is a former bureaucrat.
Okay.
Now, imagine the level of influence and lobbying that organization has. When FAME 2.0, the draft policy has come, while we were part of the drafting committee, we were shocked to see that out of those 10,000 crores, close to around 500 to 1,000 crores were still allocated for plug-in hybrids. Okay? That means, again, I do not blame anybody here. For that company who has made that investment, they definitely look forward to a gestation time for them to recover their investments, right? So, yes, these lobbies still act.
It is, I think, in their every right to play what they have played, the company that was lobbying the money. But I think government has to play a neutral spot and see what is right for the country. Because from my perspective, when I was reading up reports, why FAME 2.0 was launched is because a lot of funds were not used from FAME 1.0, from the reports that a lot normal laymen sees it. But as I see it, it was not used for a reason.
No, I'll tell you. See, FAME 1.0, the total fund allocated was only 1,000 crores.
Okay.
And FAME 1.0 was a success.
Okay.
And hence, FAME 2.0 multiplied it by 10, and then the funds allocated were 10,000 crores. Out of those 10,000 crores, 1,500 crores were allocated for EV charging infra, 8,500 crores were allocated for OEMs, right? So, there was FAME 1.0 successful? Yes. FAME 2.0, is it still successful? That we'll discuss. Now, see, while we spoke about the OEM and lobbying, let us talk from the government perspective also. While we are talking about EV as a technology, the Honorable Minister of Transport of our country today talks about hydrogen fuel cell as a technology and then says that everybody needs to invest. Now, understand this. Without even giving necessary time for a technology to be invested, to scale, to mature, so that the investments see their actual returns, how fair do you think that you are further pushed to launch another new technology, right? So we had to give a representation to the Honorable Minister with all respect and due diligence. Sir, please stop talking this. Yes, you enjoy talking about new technologies, etc., but it gives very confused signals to the industry. So should I stay invested in EVs, or now should I start looking at hydrogen fuel cell? And what if hydrogen fuel cell comes and then you start about something new, right? So it is the government also must talk with a lot of responsibility. When so many lakhs of crores have already been invested into this technology, it is fair that the government gives enough time for all these companies to mature, to see that their investments and ROIs are rightly achieved, and then probably they can build, right? So while the OEMs have their own ability to lobby, the government also needs to act sensible.
Right. So young founders are flooding into this EV space, chasing the buzz. As someone who spent almost a decade earning your right to play, what advice do you have to tell these guys?
So I always tell them, this is what I advise, irrespective of EV or non-EV business, my friends. When you start your entrepreneurial journey, before you spend a single penny into either building a product or building a business, first secure customers. See, securing customers these days is very easy, right? For example, the practical basis, you identify a customer profiling, identify some people, go talk to them, at least sell your solution on presentation. Consider if you can get an advance of say 100 INR, 1000 INR, 10,000 INR, doesn't really matter, as a pre-order,
commitment from the customer,
or a commitment from the customer that I'm going to do it. Try imitating that with 10 people. And if you're able to at least win 3 to 4 such orders, that money may not be sufficient for you to build, but that's a validation that what you're building has got a customer. Most people, what they do, they invest their time, efforts, money, energy, everything into developing a product, and only once the entire product is developed, they go into the market only to find that, oh man, product market fit doesn't exist to my offering. And what do? You die. Right? So please always ensure the first thing that you will have to focus is validate whether your product market fit exists. Your services, your offering versus the price at which you position, do you have customers excited to pick your product? So if that is done, whether it is EV or non-EV, if this particular formula is achieved, for example, that's what we have done at Thunderplus, right? Before we investing a single penny, is the location all right for you? Right? Is the capacity of 1 megawatt okay for you? I'm building 12 guns of CCS2 protocol. Are they okay for you? Do you need any GBT connectors? Do you need any slow chargers? What is this? This is my product market fit which I'm validating with the customer. And once the customer says yes, can you give me a business guarantee of at least so many number of hours of engagement per day? Yes. Then you go back and then you build your infrastructure. Same with the others. Always validate, get your product market fit right. At least get some advances as some commitments from the customers, right? And then let me tell you, no one can ever stop you because you have started it all right. If you reverse the order, that first product first, service first, and market later, you're gone.
Sir, what opportunities do you see in the EV space, in the entire cycle of EV, right from manufacturing of cars, that I think stands on the top, and then the maintenance of these charging centers? Do you see an opportunity for youngsters to come up?
So, see, the manufacturing, whether it is cars, two-wheelers, three-wheelers, or buses, man, that's a big brother's game, right? If I were to tell you that go ahead and start, that's a blatant lie. So let's leave it for the big guys and who have got deep pockets and money to do that. But if you look at EV charging infrastructure, EV franchise, etc., they start as low as 10 lakh, 15 lakh, 20 lakh rupees, right? Forget about anything. Though I will not even ask you to collaborate with Thunder. No. If you have a parking place right outside your apartment or your house, you go set up a charging station. Try promoting the charging station into multiple aggregator platforms. You will start seeing the customers. Right?
Become a mom and pop entrepreneur.
Yes.
Start with Thunderplus.
Yes. Yeah. Again, if you want, you can start with us. Right. But even if you were to start individually, independently, and you want our support, we can do that. But the point is, start small, experiment, taste the success, then you expand.
Sir, you have been a design engineer, a product manager, a CEO, a government official, a policy advisor, now a spokesperson, and a CEO. Are you planning to make a foray into politics, looking at the way you worked with the government in policy making? Is it the right logical step for you to make next?
Bharath, you're not the first one to ask this question to me.
I am glad, sir. I am glad, which means I'm getting in the right direction.
And was I asked about this by people in competent authority? When I say in competent authority, people probably in the corridors of power in political parties. Did they check with me if I have interest of that? The answer is yes, they did check. Did I respond positively? The answer was yes, I responded positively. Why? If your question is, do you have aspirations to be a politician or do you have aspirations to be a part of this politics? The answer is yes, right? Why? Because while there are many, I would say, theories that politics is dirty, politics is pollutant, they will corrupt you, etc. While that is all one side of the story, when I worked for about 2 years with the government of Andhra Pradesh, what I realized is the impact that you can create to the state, the impact that you can create to the masses, right? The change that you can bring at ground level is phenomenal. No amount of corporate leadership, unless you operate at a really big scale, you can actually do that. So it is actually that impact and influence that gave me that kick, right? So I strongly believe, right, with the kind of pedigree, with the kind of exposure, with the kind of whatever the learnings that I have, if I can contribute to the state or at the nation, probably at an industries level or at a finance level or at a planning level or at any point, right, where the administration can be done better, the policies can be executed much better, the quality of life can be made better, and then the growth and development index can be accelerated better. I would say that's a service to my nation. Right. My nation has given me subsidized education through IIT Madras. Right. My nation has given me a great opportunity to earn my living and then earn my, I would say, whatever it is. Right. My nation has given me the confidence and courage to go to one of the best universities in the world and then study there. All this was given by my country called India. And if there is an opportunity for me to pay it back, right, and if that channel is going to be politics, right, why not?
Sir, among all the avatars that you've had, and God willing, you'll become a politician soon, which version of Rajiv feels the most like you?
See, I think the leadership versions, right? Whether it is the CXO roles, whether it is the national spokesperson role, whether it is being recognized as the 40 under 40 young EV leaders role, or whether it is being a TEDx speaker role, right? One thing is you do your 9 to 5 job, you get your numbers right, your math is correct, but that is only probably 50% of where I get my kick from. The rest of the 50% is the impact and the influence that you are able to make, right? You're able to influence the policies in the right direction. You're able to inspire the young entrepreneurs, the young professionals, right? The very fact that you drove all the way from Bangalore, right, to make this particular podcast itself is a validation that yes, you find that there is something insightful and value in the conversation which you want people to, I would say, receive, right? I think this version of it, where the ability to impact masses at a higher things. And then if you look at the podcast these days, or if you look at any social media these days, majority of it is entertainment. It is all about movies, it is all about sports, it is all about politics. While they can be your side dishes, they cannot be your main dishes. You see very less podcasts talking about profession, very less podcasts talking about career, very less podcasts talking about entrepreneurship. Working hard at this point of time or studying hard has become a taboo.
Right.
What is being cool? What is being cool is you are careless, right? You don't care about anything, just flaunt around, and that's being cool. Unfortunately, the movies and then the other things are also influencing it the wrong way. I think the efforts that you have taken are really, really good. So these right morals of integrity, these rare elements of hard work, perseverance, right? Not giving up so easily, ability to learn, building up the growth mindset. I think these are to be imbibed. And I take a lot of pride and maza in doing this. So if you were to ask me among all of these things, these are the kind of roles where I enjoy the most.
So if there's one young person listening to this, takes away something from your entire journey, what do you want that to be?
3 things. Believe in yourself, right? And again, there is nothing that is impossible. With God's help, you can do everything. All things are possible, right? So number 1, believe in yourself. Number 2, perseverance is a virtue. If one has to develop anything, that is perseverance, right? So first thing is believe in yourself. Second thing is perseverance. Third thing and most important thing is equip yourself. Now when I say equip yourself, when you believe in yourself and when you persevere about a goal, and when you notice that there are gaps, right, in your I would say equipment, equip yourself. If at all the time permits, let me narrate a small story. So there was this one young man, right? His job was only to break the boulders, convert them into, I would say, small stones, sell them off and earn his living. So a very hot summer, thick of May, he has a newborn baby. He comes to the hill with his hammer and everything, and he starts hitting the boulder. That boulder is almost 3 times of his size, huge. But he knows that if he's able to break that particular boulder and then bring it to the quarry and then he can make a lot of money. So he starts hitting that boulder 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, nothing happens. At one point of time, he observes his palms, they're all bruised, blood oozing out. He was not even able to hold the handle of the hammer. Probably at around 70 steps or so, he thought of giving up. And while he was just leaving, he was reminded of the baby who would be there at home and would cry for milk, right? He was reminded of the family that is dependent on him. So he gathers himself, comes back, takes a towel, wraps it around his palms, takes that hammer again and starts hitting that boulder. 90, nothing happens. 91, nothing happens. 95, nothing happens. 97, nothing happens. 98, nothing happens. And at 99, he thinks, I think I'm done. I'm exhausted. There is not even an ounce of energy that is left inside me. Let me give it up, right? But again, some voice deep inside says, why don't you try one more? Just one more, give it a try. So he gathered everything that has got within him and put all of that into that 100th stroke. And then he hits the boulder, and then the boulder gives away to his persistence. Right. Now my question, at what hit was the boulder, did the boulder break?
I think all 100 said?
Absolutely. It is 99 plus 100th hit, right? That's the power of perseverance, right? So you need to know you need to believe in yourself that you're able to do it. You need to have the perseverance of not giving it up, and at the same time you also need to have the right skill set. If you do not have, fill it up. If anyone has got these three, you become unstoppable.
Yes, sir. I think it comes to an end. Thank you so much for doing this. As a founder myself, I think this has been a very good crash course on fundraising. A lot of things that I've learned myself, taken notes also. I'll go back and kind of look into it. And thank you so much for doing this with us.
You're always welcome, Bharath. In fact, I must also appreciate your perseverance, right? When we spoke almost in a week back, my schedule was free for this Saturday and I said yes. But for the last 1 week, when I was in Mumbai and my reaching to Hyderabad was in a dilemma, I regretted this opportunity, but again, you are persistent and said, no, sir, let us do, even if it is not Saturday, let's do it on Sunday. I'm going to make it. I think you already demonstrate that, right? Number one. Number two, even your questions, I see they are very well prepared. You did a lot of research from two perspectives, right? One is for you to learn, and other one is for those audience who are watching. Is there anything that they can take? Right? I think kudos to that. I'm sure and I'm confident that such kind of amplification, you're actually serving the nation. You are inspiring the entrepreneurs. This evening you can spend at any coffee shop or at any pub, but you chose to be here in the studio, bringing the insights out so that the audience right there, the youngsters right there are rightly informed, rightly educated and rightly inspired. Thank you so much and all the very best, Bharath.
Thank you so much. It's my privilege. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone who stayed till the end of the video. It truly means a lot. Share your thoughts and suggestions in the comment sections below. If you have enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe. This is Bharath signing off and see you in the next episode.